I've made it back to South Korea to film and test drive the new Hyundai IONIQ 9. And we got a long road trip ahead of us. Is this going to last the entire range? I don't know, let's see. And you know what? We got a lot to talk about as well, so let's get started. On this KBB First Drive adventure, I'm taking Hyundai's newest flagship all-electric 3-row SUV on a cross-country road trip from the city of Seoul to Busan, South Korea, which is over 300 kilometers, or over 186 miles for all of my fellow Westerners. Seems like a lot of ground to cover, but what better way to put the IONIQ 9 to the test? This SUV, which is the Korean market spec by the way, rides on Hyundai's Electric Global Modular Platform, or EGMP for short, and has a long wheelbase with a boat-inspired exterior and a roomy interior that seats up to 7 passengers. The exterior is definitely a center of discussion, but what's more important are the aerodynamic bits like flush door handles, hidden antenna, dual motion active air flaps, aerodynamic wheels, and these, we'll get to that in a sec, all of which help contribute to achieve a drag coefficient as low as 0.26, which is actually better than the smaller IONIQ 5s, which is 0.288. I gotta admit, the IONIQ 9 is pretty cool to look at in traffic, and it's unmistakable. It has pixels everywhere, and it just looks different. But one thing that's really different that you may have noticed already is this, a digital side view mirror. We're not getting it in the States, and maybe that's a good thing because personally, when I'm driving this, I find it a little distracting. The IONIQ 9 has a floor-mounted 110.3 kilowatt-hour battery and comes in rear-wheel or all-wheel drive. The base long-range rear-wheel drive model dishes out just 216 horsepower, while long-range all-wheel drive models add a motor up front for a total of 308 horsepower. Lastly, the model I'm testing, which is the Performance All-Wheel Drive Calligraphy model, the fanciest of the bunch, delivers up to 429 horsepower and can go from 0 to 100 kilometers 0 to 60 miles per hour in a respectable 4.9 seconds. And just in case you were wondering, the long-range rear-wheel drive model will eventually get to 60 in 9.4 seconds. If you're looking to tow, the IONIQ 9 can do up to 5,000 pounds when properly equipped. So after putting about 100 kilometers on this thing, I can say that it drives perfectly normal. It has a good amount of pep if you need to enter the highway, and the braking doesn't feel too synthetic or too squishy. It's predictable, it's progressive, it brings you to a smooth stop, and if one pedal driving is your thing, there's paddles on the back of the steering wheel to change up your regenerative braking feel. You can have just a straight coast if you go to level 0, or you can go all the way up to I pedal, which is the one pedal drive mode, and you just use one pedal for your acceleration and for your braking. There's also the auto hold that you can turn on and off, but I like a creep, so the most conventional is level 1, no auto hold, and you are just driving this IONIQ 9. All IONIQ 9 models are estimated to get around 300 miles of range on a single charge, and all-wheel drive models will have the ability to disconnect the front motor when not needed to improve efficiency. With an 800-volt architecture, the IONIQ 9 can get from a 10% to 80% charge in around 24 minutes on a 350 kilowatt DC fast charger. And preconditioning the battery before heading to the charging station is relatively easy to find in the infotainment menu. The IONIQ 9 also has vehicle-to-load capability just in case you want to plug in a blender, microwave, or power a bouncy house on your road trip. Speaking of which, let's pull over and see how this big fella's been holding up and check out some numbers, especially because I've been cranking up the heat inside the cabin since South Korea decided to be -3 degrees Celsius today. So, after a few hours of driving this thing, we've covered 288 kilometers, and the battery still has about 192 kilometers left, and we've done a combination of highway and city driving. I don't know the conversion, but there you go. And what's cool is we're at this South Korean charging station, and it shows you the battery percentage and whatever vehicle is charging on the screen up top. What else is cool is the IONIQ 9s that are coming into the States, they're gonna have the NACS charge ports, which means you can charge at 17,000 Tesla stations. Yeah, that's not all of them, but it's a good start. The IONIQ 9's platform allows it to have a low center of gravity with a stiff chassis. There's a McPherson multi-link suspension up front that helps minimize driving vibration, self-leveling dampers, and a ring around the front struts that increase the tightness of the vehicle body input points. All a fancy way of saying a bunch of things that provide a nice, smooth ride. The suspension is doing a great job at soaking up these bumps. It's a nice, oh my God, navigation. If you don't be quiet, it is 80 kilometers per hour. Punch. It's a nice, smooth ride. This does feel like a big vehicle though, I'll give it that. It handles corners pretty well, but you can feel the size of this. It's a substantial vehicle. But the steering feels good. It doesn't feel too assisted. It has a pretty decent weight on it, and it doesn't wander around. It's pretty stable on center, which is nice. And if you want to change up some of the driving dynamics, of course, there are drive modes. There's Eco, Normal, Sport, which gives you a little bit more of, I should say a lot more power on demand, especially when you're going at highway speeds. And you can also press this button right here to go into your terrain settings, and you have auto, snow, mud, and sand, just so the system can dictate where to put the power to the wheels that need it the most. The inside of the IONIQ 9 is not only spacious, but filled with tech. There's a nice bright head-up display, dual 12.3-inch gauge cluster and infotainment screens, wireless phone charger, a UVC sterilizer for everyday items like your phone or wallet, and 6 USB-C ports that can charge at high speeds, as long as you have Hyundai's high-speed charging cable. Sneaky, sneaky. My IONIQ 9 tester also has these available rear screens for your second row passengers, perfect for watching the latest K-pop band or subscribing to the KBB YouTube channel. Or both, just go wild. Something that I mentioned earlier with these digital side view mirrors is it does add to the aerodynamics, but like I said, I'm not used to this, so it's a little bit distracting when I'm looking outside of this window when I should be looking at this screen. But I mean, it's clear and it gets the job done. It's just a problem with depth perception because I don't know how far back the car on my left or my right, how far back they are. So kind of going into the side lanes is a bit of an issue. But besides that, the screens straight ahead, the gauge cluster and the infotainment screens, they look great. The gauge cluster is a bit customizable. All you got to do is just scroll this wheel right here on the steering wheel, and the infotainment screen, easy to work. Hyundai and Kia do a great job with their infotainment screens, and their native navigation is especially good out here in South Korea because it tells you every turn, speed bumps, school zones.
Turn right and then be careful of traffic signals. Speed limit.
You see what I mean? This is
kilometers. Be careful not to take the wrong road. In 200 meters, be careful of traffic signals. There are several speed bumps ahead. Speed limit is 30 kilometers per hour.
God.
Entering child protection area. Slow down.
Hyundai does
There are several speed bumps ahead.
Thank
Use
you.
the right lane.
Thank you.
A speed bump is ahead.
Oh, you don't say. Oh my God. The IONIQ 9 is not just techy, but also comfy. There's synthetic leather upholstery on the front seats, having a two-tone color scheme, a wide range of motion, and heating and ventilation functionality. Along with memory seat settings and an electronically adjustable steering column, there's also relaxation mode for the front seats when you're bored at a charging station and you just want to sit back and chill out. So right now I'm on my way to Busan, South Korea, and I have no problem sitting in the driver's seat of this IONIQ 9. It's comfortable, I'm 6'4", I got plenty of headroom, and I will add this calligraphy trim has massage functions. Granted, it's not like really digging in there, but it does provide a little bit more comfort on a long commute such as this. Oh my God, GPS, I love you to death, but be quiet. In the second row of the IONIQ 9, there's plenty of space, but still upset that we won't get those cool swivel seats in the States. There's ample headroom and legroom, and there's a flat floor in the middle, which is great for those who plan on having a bench seating configuration. The captain's chairs on my tester have heating, ventilation, and even a massage function that pretty much vibrates the chair. And I mean, it really gets after it. Ooh, that's loud. If the front passenger seat isn't occupied, the right side second row passenger can adjust the seat with these switches on the side. And for maximum comfort, the second row with the captain's chair configuration also has relaxation mode. But just be mindful of trying to relax in back of a tall front seat passenger. It can get a little squishy.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't be as tall as me behind a tall driver.
The third row surprisingly has space for a tall guy like me and can even recline electronically. And behind the third row, I was able to confidently store my carry-on and backpack. The buttons in the cargo hold can electronically fold both second and third rows for maximum cargo space. And for smaller items, yes, there is a front trunk. Back inside, the IONIQ 9 has a lounge-like calm cabin. Soft touch points line the interior. The absence of gloss black for the steering wheel buttons, switch gears, and HVAC controls are appreciated, and the ambient lighting does a good job at setting your desired mood. There's also active noise cancellation technology, acoustic glass, and noise-reducing tires helping to keep the cabin nice and peaceful.
The cabin of the IONIQ 9, it looks good. It's not a lot of big EV gimmicks. And one thing I do want to point out, well, a couple things. There's no compartment for sunglasses, which I think is a sin not to have in an SUV. So I'm gonna, word to Joe Rady, zonk that. But it's this part right here, this ledge. A lot of people, they'll use this ledge to put in inputs on the infotainment system, and I feel like this gets fingerprints and smudges relatively easily. But there is some good practicality in here. There's decent door bins, and you also have your center console, which is pretty nice, and it's a good amount of space in here. And you also have these nooks down below, which have a lot of storage space in those. But this interior, it feels nice. It feels well put together. There's some interesting materials, especially right here on the dash. It kind of looks like styrofoam with someone blotting it with a black sponge. But I mean, that's my opinion, not everybody's. But everything feels well put together, and this interior is nice and quiet. The NVH in here feels great. If you don't know what NVH is, it's noise, vibration, and harshness. Not a lot of that is coming into the cabin. If you really just want to cruise and just be zen, this cabin does a great job at doing that. And visibility is good. Going straight out thanks to that sloping hood. It looks good over both of my shoulders thanks to these nice windows without a raising belt line. It looks good, and even going straight back, it's not too bad. And you also have this digital rear view mirror just in case your cabin is packed out with people or luggage or camping gear or whatever you have in this big SUV. But visibility, not too bad. And the best part is there's so many safety features to keep you extra safe.
In 700 meters, turn right.
You won't get distracted by the GPS that keeps telling you what to do. It's gonna keep you nice and safe.
The IONIQ 9 comes equipped with driver assistance systems such as blind spot collision assist, blind spot monitor, lane keeping assist, forward collision avoidance, rear cross-traffic collision avoidance assist, intelligent speed limit assist, and highway driving assist. There's no hands-free driving system yet, so make sure you keep your hands on the wheel and eyes on the road.
Hyundai does a great job with their highway driving assist feature, and it's no exception on the IONIQ 9. To activate it, all you do is just press this button on the left of the steering wheel. You set your speed, 50 kilometers is the speed limit, and it goes that speed. It keeps a nice distance in the back of the vehicle in front of you, and it doesn't ping pong you from side to side. It keeps you nice and center in the lane. This has capacitive touch on the steering wheel, so you just gotta put a couple fingers on the wheel. And yeah, this is a good system to have when you're doing a long commute like I am right now. The IONIQ 9 does a good job at just driving like a normal vehicle. And you got plenty of space for all of your family members or whatever gear you got. But if you want to know the price, sorry, can't tell you that right now.
I wasn't able to get exact pricing at the time of this video, but maybe we can speculate.
No, Mike, we are not gonna speculate.
Okay, fine, I won't speculate. But maybe it'll start somewhere around the price of its platform mate, the Kia EV9. Your guess is as good as mine.
If you're ready to trade in your vehicle for the IONIQ 9 or any other EV, go on KBB.com and Kelley Blue Book can help you get your car's value. KBB.com, click the link above for more details.
There's not a lot of competition in the all-electric 3-row SUV segment that's not considered a luxury vehicle, but the IONIQ 9 will be looking to go against rides like the funky VW ID Buzz and the aforementioned Kia EV9. There's no exact release date, but expect to see the IONIQ 9 arrive at dealerships in the US in the first half of 2025.
The Hyundai IONIQ 9 will be in the States soon, and thankfully it won't come with these digital side view mirrors, but it's a bummer it's not coming with the swivel seats. But I can tell you it's gonna be loaded up with tech, plenty of space for your passengers, some decent range, especially out here in South Korea, and it looks pretty funky too. So if all that sounds good to you, check one out for yourself.